Hello there. I'm Amelia Northrup-Simpson of TRG Arts, a data-driven consulting firm which teaches arts and cultural organizations to grow revenue and patronage. Today, I'll be talking with Jennifer Weissman, Chief Marketing Officer at Boston Ballet, about their record-breaking production of The Nutcracker. This interview was originally included as part of TRG's Christmas in July webinar, which was created to dispel one myth, that holiday events sell themselves. Now, it's true that holiday programs are hot. They attract a large audience, they have huge revenue potential, but that does not mean that we can sit back and not be active in marketing them. The stakes are simply too high. So can we change the conversation today? Saying that holiday programming sells itself removes arts managers from the situation, when the reality is that these arts managers have a tremendous impact. The story of Boston Ballet's Nutcracker is evidence of just how much impact smart leadership and flawless implementation can have. So it's my pleasure today to introduce Jennifer Weissman. Jennifer has been with the ballet for 3 years now and has done extraordinary work there. In fact, you may have seen the recent Boston Globe and Chronicle of Philanthropy articles that revealed the company has just completed its best year ever at the box office. So Jennifer, welcome. It is so good to have you.
Thank you so much, Amelia. It's great to be here.
And so the story, Jennifer, that you'll be telling is all about bringing sexy back to best practices and evolving them, really turning up the volume on some fundamental strategies. So the Nutcracker has been gaining throughout the years at Boston Ballet, and what is true about Boston Ballet is that they have never been an organization satisfied with the status quo or incremental change. There is a nimbleness and a passionate desire at this organization to do better always. And frankly, a wonderful quality of scrappiness that can create big momentum when it's directed and led properly. So that's been a huge factor in the success of Boston Ballet and their recent Nutcracker. We'll get to that in a bit, but now, Jennifer, I'd like to ask you to describe a little bit of the sales history of the ballet's Nutcracker.
Absolutely. Boston Ballet has been performing the Nutcracker for over 50 years, and it's really the foundation of our annual box office revenue and attendance. And it accounts for upwards of 50% of both of those goals each year. In 2012, we debuted a fresh new version. It was choreographed by our artistic director, who revamped several scenes and commissioned absolutely gorgeous new sets and costumes. It was a big hit in the debut year and enjoyed record high attendance and revenue. But in the 2 years that followed, the expectation was we would achieve even higher revenue and attendance. But as we got further away from being a new show, and we were missing all of the resulting press and buzz that comes with being new, the increased goals felt outsized, and we simply weren't meeting them. When we got closer, to our revenue goal in 2014, mostly thanks to a renewed focus on dynamic pricing, we still fell short. Happily, this past season, we beat both our revenue and attendance goals. We had record high revenue, even better than that 2012 debut year, and we came within 200 tickets of that best year also.
Awesome. So as I said, the success of Boston Ballet's 2016 Nutcracker production was in a large part 2015 Nutcracker production was in large part due to the tuning up of strategies that they had come to rely on throughout the 10 years that we've been working in partnership. And all the while bringing new evolved initiatives to their mix of strategies. So what they did to completely knock this year's Nutcracker out of the park fell into two buckets. First, campaign development and optimization, both direct marketing and digital marketing. And as an aside, Boston Ballet is really on the cutting edge of leveraging digital and content marketing. TRG is learning alongside this particular client about how these strategies are not just using content as feel-good strategies, but to really drive sales. And secondly, optimization of revenue and demand management strategies, really pushing the pedal down on managing their pricing strategy and pricing plan with that great Boston Ballet spirit of nimbleness and go big or go home approach. So Jennifer, I'd like to turn this over to you to talk about the specifics of what Boston Ballet did in these two areas differently in 2015.
Great, thanks, Amelia. I want to back up a little and say that about 8 months prior to this past year's Nutcracker opening, I had reorganized our staff so that we could focus more on content creation, social media, and digital analytics. So this was our first Nutcracker where we had everybody in place to deliver on what was a labor-intensive, really content-heavy plan. And while we didn't spend more on our overall Nutcracker media budget, we did reallocate some of those dollars in order to invest more in the content creation. So stuff came out of our ad budget and went into the content creation bucket. And then we disseminated this bigger, better content through social media, increased and targeted direct response, and we used video-based mass media. Throughout the past year, with reorging the staff, we've really been doggedly focused on creating engaging content to show different and fun perspectives on our art form and our dancers. Last spring, we made a slow-motion video of several leaping dancers that got over 2.8 million views. And we were delighted that it was even liked by Baryshnikov's official Facebook fan page, which gave us another 400,000 view boost several months after the video launched. While we didn't see a big spike in sales for the show that was in the theater when we were running this video, we're now reaping the rewards of building our pixeled user base. There are now all those people to whom we can send permission-based digital marketing. And it was this bigger user base, I think, that really contributed to the early success of our targeted Nutcracker promotions that include a Fall Arts preview sale in September and Black Friday and Cyber Monday in November. So when we opened this year's Nutcracker, we were already $675,000 ahead of our tracker, and then we just kept building on that lead. As it is for the dancers, Nutcracker is a marathon for the marketing team. It requires a lot of preparation and constant course correction, but we have a terrific team in place, and so we were able to put together a comprehensive plan and then monitor it, and then just keep refining it in real time, making tweaks daily, and then even sometimes major course corrections driven by patron response. And by response, I mean we looked both at the ticket sales, which we look at on a daily and sometimes I feel like hourly basis, but also how people are consuming our content through views, clicks, likes, shares, comments, the length of time that we see people are watching the videos, and then ultimately conversions. We've created a digital content team now, and that group made 8 highly watched videos about the Nutcracker, the most popular being a freeze-frame version of the snow scene that got over 400,000 views. And those videos, all 8 of them together, garnered 1 million organic views, and then we also created another 57 pieces of content with photos and interviews that we pushed out through Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, as well as email blasts and some paid promotion, and generated another 8 million impressions. We also leveraged some of this video content through quote-unquote traditional mass media, like out-of-home advertising, where we use digital billboards, as well as TV and online advertising. And we got really targeted with our radio buys using streaming services like Pandora with demographic and geographic filters.
So Jen, you also do revenue pacing meetings where you're looking on a weekly basis at how the house is filling and how dynamic pricing is going. So I wonder if you might tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, we do weekly pacing meetings, and they start 6 weeks prior to the first show opening, and they go through the last week of the season. And our goals are twofold. We optimize capacity by filling the houses as evenly as possible and using pricing as a way to do that, and of course maximizing revenue for the most in-demand performances. In the room are 2 key decision makers from the box office, and those are the folks that make the agenda and provide all the reporting for us to review well in advance of the meeting, along with staff from development, group sales, our executive director, and me. And we all come prepped with questions and recommendations based on what we're seeing, so we can take just a half an hour in the room. Our senior box office manager then emails a post-meeting summary of what we've agreed upon, and she executes against it. And the main metrics we're looking at are absorption in various sections of the house, sales velocity, and the average ticket price. In the years prior to having these regular revenue pacing meetings, our box office typically bumped shows when we sold about 1,000 tickets to our 2,500 seat house. The bumps were usually in $5 increments across the board in all price sections. So bump one meant everything was $5 more than the original on sale price. Back then, our highest price ticket ultimately would become $182 after however many bumps needed to get it there. But now through our regular revenue pacing meetings, we've tested going as high as $250 for the most in-demand tickets. And we also really modify how we bump. So if there are sections of the house that have a lot of available inventory, we might not raise the price at all, but at the same time add $25 or even more, rezoning a section that has some scarcity. So we still tend to focus our attention on shows that have sold over 1,000 tickets, but it's not this sort of automatic flag to bump or rezone. We like to pressure check who's buying the tickets and where they're buying them. And sometimes if there's a big sale because of a group purchase, so that doesn't necessarily signal that there's public demand and that people will be willing to pay more for the state. It just signals that our group sales guy did a good job. So we check in with him, and we also check in with development to make sure that they have what they need for their VIPs, who typically RSVP late, but we want to make sure that development has what we need, but that we don't hang on to those best tickets for too long and risk having them go unsold. So this year, price bumps and rezoning contributed an additional $370,000 in Nutcracker revenue. And it included over 400 tickets, which we sold at our new top prices of $220 and $250. And we were able to get those bigger prices without slowing demand.
So a note about velocity for people who are watching this video right now. You just heard how Jennifer and the Boston Ballet observed and acted on the velocity of their ticket sales, as in the actual number of tickets that they were selling. Don't lose sight of the number of tickets you're selling. We can do all sorts of things with pricing, but if we're selling fewer and fewer tickets, that's an indicator of lagging demand overall. So follow the example of Boston Ballet. They are diligent and action-oriented around the number of tickets being sold as opposed to only the revenue being generated. If we focus on revenue, we lose the picture of real demand, which hinges on the number of tickets we're selling, not just the average ticket price or per capita revenue. Jennifer, might you say a few more words about how this related to your practices for Nutcracker?
Absolutely. As important as maximizing revenue is to us, what we really want is full houses. And we look at dynamic pricing as a way to smooth demand and help fill our houses. And we encourage patrons to buy the shows that have more capacity by rewarding them with less expensive tickets, especially early in the run, so we can drive maximum demand while we still have the runway to capitalize on it. And while we look for opportunities to increase our prices, we're also just really keeping a close eye on velocity and whether we've gotten ahead of ourselves and maybe inadvertently stalled sales, which I think we did actually the year prior, where we came close to the revenue goal but fell short on our attendance goal. So in these revenue pacing meetings, when we're getting close to opening or we're in show, we look at the individual houses to see if there's any issues with any of the performances that are coming up soon, that we carve in some lower price seating, if there's some big sections going unsold. Our feeling is we'd rather make a slight price reduction ahead of time than sell the tickets for $30 rush the day of the show. So these revenue pacing meetings are where we start the conversation about, do we need additional promotions to goose sales? Maybe we send an email to targeted segments of our audiences that say premium inventory just released or get a free seat upgrade, and then we can sell an A-level ticket at a B-level price and fill in a hole in the house and really try to keep demand high so that we can keep selling rush tickets only in the balcony and not end up with a house that has big holes in important places. And in between revenue pacing meetings, our box office and I are in close contact, keeping an eye on any of the shows that we had concerns about, or the ones that we thought were just on the cusp of being ready for a bump or a rezone, so that we don't have to wait a full week until the next meeting to make the changes. We essentially keep what we call a parking lot of these questionable shows so we can see how our decisions are panning out and we monitor and adjust the inventory daily. Sometimes the promotions too if we need to, just depending on what we're seeing. So this year we sold out 23 of our 42 performances, and the average house was at 92% capacity. And I think I mentioned we actually made less money from bumps and rezoning than the year before, $180,000 less, but $850,000 more overall because we sold 9,000 more seats than we had in the year prior.
Wonderful. Awesome. Awesome, awesome work there, Jennifer. So another area that you have led Boston Ballet to examine and make changes to was the direct response campaign. Now, there have always been solid practices in place around direct mail and its use at Boston Ballet, but Jennifer, your direct edict was to ask, how can we make this better? How can we make this an even stronger producer to our bottom line? How can we tighten our segmentation, our offers, our timing, and our deployment? So Jennifer, I'd like to ask you to describe your direct response campaign, its contour, and some of the successes that you saw from it in 2015.
Absolutely. For direct response, as you mentioned, we did more segmenting and we tried testing more, both our snail mail and our email marketing. And we increased our organic and paid social media with more retargeting and lookalike digital advertising campaigns. Our patron can now get a postcard in the mail, gets followed by an email, also see an organic or paid Nutcracker post on Facebook, and then get served a Nutcracker pre-roll video on YouTube, for example. We have very much enjoyed working with Capacity Interactive and have heightened our digital advertising and paid social media efforts. We spend about 12% of our budget on direct marketing and another 20% on digital advertising, and the majority of that's on retargeting and paid social media. This year we had 15 segmented direct marketing efforts. Most had an email follow-up, and select pieces also got a robocall follow-up, as well as doing paid social media and digital retargeting. Most of the direct mail was to house lists, single ticket buyers, subscribers, and our school families, but we also had success with a new mover list buy and some trade mailings with other arts organizations that showed high affinity. We start this process really early. Our pre-sale to subscribers and group sales begins in March. It's followed by a pre-sale to select single ticket buyer groups, including donors and recent premium buyers, and our school parents in May. And then the public's on sales in July, so you can actually buy your Nutcracker ticket today. And we also played around with our messaging this past year. In prior years, the messaging was more focused on pricing and timing, so we led with offers. Now we lead lots of times with product-based content, and it's occasionally paired with a discount or a notice when new seats are released. We tend to offer the biggest discounts prior to opening the show, and we try to do very little public discounting once we're in the theater. Often our best performing sales, I'm delighted to say, come from content that isn't overtly trying to sell anything, but rather feature something fun or interesting about the show. But that said, we do 3 big sales events that are very public. A kickoff in mid-September, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday. 3 years ago, we changed our kickoff strategy. We used to do a big ad campaign in July that gave us a short-lived spike. It cost nearly what we earned. It was about a $120,000 wash. What we do now is a much less expensive and more effective one-week sale in September when people are more likely to buy. This first big Nutcracker push is launched in conjunction with the Boston Globe, our major major local newspaper, and their Fall Arts preview section. So prior to making this strategy change, we used to run several ads in local media, and we'd offer a relatively small discount on multiple dates. And now we buy just this one full-page ad in the Globe, and we have a attention-getting 50% off select dates that are really early in the run. And we supplement this one big ad with direct marketing, and that's mail, email, and robocalls. And we also do social media, both organic and paid. And this year we spent $30,000 on the promotion, and we made $162,000 in directly attributable Nutcracker sales, which was a 30% increase year over year. And a lot of those tickets people buy at full price. I think they pay attention to the thing that says 50% off and get excited, and then they go on the website and see that they like dates that are full price ones better. We also leveraged the mass appeal of this big offer as the carrot to visit our website, where we push the rest of the season, which is on sale at that point. And this year we sold another $224,000 in full price tickets to the other season shows, which I'm delighted to say was a 93% increase year over year. The other two sales events that we do are Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Black Friday was new for us this year. Since our first show opens on Thanksgiving weekend, we offered tickets to that weekend at a deep discount to make sure that those early houses were full, and we offered them in person so as not to cannibalize our typically pretty successful Cyber Monday. Our messaging was that before you stand in line for a TV, buy an unforgettable experience. Our Nutcracker bear was on hand to take selfies and give hugs, and we gave away Nutcracker crowns to everyone in line. And the messaging really fit with the overall campaign messaging that our tagline was cherish the moment, and we were using Nutcracker as an opportunity to spend time with your loved ones. And we posted photos of the festivities throughout the day on social media. We encouraged people to come and join the fun. We saw a sales increase of 43% year over year, and we're glad that it wasn't just people buying tickets to opening weekend at a discount, but also buying shows later in the run at full price. And then we quickly followed up on Monday morning with Cyber Monday, which is our last big sale of the run. And again, offered a mix of early run dates on sale and later run matinees and weekends at full price. And despite the fact that our website crashed from all the traffic, our aggregate sales for the weekend were the highest in our history by over $500,000. After Cyber Monday, we don't offer any more major public discounts. We do some upgrades and smaller discounts to select segments. We had initially used some discount brokers like Gold Star, but ultimately took back all of our tickets since we were able to sell them ourselves at full price.
Excellent. So finally, the payoff. Again, Boston Ballet had seen incremental growth over the years, but this one was pretty spectacular. Jennifer, please describe the results.
This was our highest achieving Nutcracker in our 50-year history. We did we did $8.1 million in sales, and we sold 93,000 tickets. We exceeded our goal by $1 million and 9,000 tickets. We came out of the gate strong, and then we grew that lead. And I have to say, we were helped by a strong economy and a really good team that was able to capitalize on that and make a plan that could drive volume and a high average ticket price. And then we tried some new events like Black Friday to goose early sales. We primarily focused on content-based marketing throughout the run and then pushed it through paid, earned, and owned channels. And when we were able to drive demand, we capitalized on it with higher prices, maximizing revenue, but also using it, most important to us, as a way to smooth demand throughout the run and fill our houses.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So now the question is, what's next? As of this recording, it's July. So what are you doing this year to make 2016 your best holiday ever? What can you, person watching this video, do to put it all together? First of all, start strong and keep going on your campaign and pricing strategy. Your goal is sustained volume in the marketplace with all cylinders firing. So that means you've got a plan for this, you've got a budget for this. If you haven't already, now, summer, and even if you're watching this video in early fall, is not too late. Start now, start today. Schedule a meeting this week or next to talk about what you can be doing now to sell into November and December. Just keep on with those steady marketing efforts, just like Boston Ballet did. Why? Campaigns drive volume early. The more time you have to sell, the more you will sell. From there, your scale plan and dynamic pricing strategy should be increasing your average ticket price as houses and exhibitions fill. Boston Ballet shows that these two elements of your strategy work together to grow your revenue. Plan and implement with equal enthusiasm. This is another place where Boston Ballet really excelled. They have strong leadership and great planners on their team, but they were also fanatical about implementation of the plan and equally obsessed with evaluating progress and pacing. Last, create an entrepreneurial culture. Boston Ballet is unafraid to price tickets with market demand. And they do it because it's good for their company. It allows them to have the working capital for other important initiatives. Everyone on the team understands this and is looking for ways to help them reach their goals. And that understanding is really critical. Incentivizing teamwork that helps organizations get revenue, helps you get the revenue that you need to thrive in your market. So that concludes our time with Jennifer today. Thanks so much, Jennifer.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great. Great results. A full case study on Boston Ballet's Nutcracker success can be found at our website at www.trgarts.com.